All right, Resident Evil, welcome to Raccoon City. So, we got the first official screen grabs the other day and a new interview with Johannes Roberts, Johannes Roberts. Forgive me if I'm saying that wrong. Who's the director of the movie. And we talked about this a while ago. Like, we talked about the fact that they wanted to make this movie like a flat out callback to the original games, I mean. And I was really excited for that. I was like, cool. Like, I love, as much as I love the Paul W.S. Anderson movies and how different they were, and I kind of commend them for doing something really different and for taking like all of the source material and like just throwing everything at the wall. I was really excited until I saw these pictures, because I'm not gonna lie. I don't know. I'm not condemning it yet. I mean, I saw people on Twitter that were like, F this movie, I'm done. Like, I'm not even throwing my money away to go see it. Like, I'm not there yet. But I'm a little freaked out now. So let's do the pictures first. So before we even read anything, let's take a look at the pictures. So number one. We have Leon here. I forget who is playing him. We got Leon, and I know obviously this is Claire. First of all, does he look like a Leon to you?
Bro, I want you to know right now. Can okay, we're gonna test this thing out. We're gonna test this new platform out. Look up Victorious. Okay.
Look up what?
Look up Victorious. Okay, guys, you see that picture? This reminds me of the Victorious show because that guy is in that movie, and that scene, those two right there, they look like the two couples that are dating in that movie, in that show. It's fucking hilarious now that I think of it.
Are you wanting me to screen share Victorious?
No, it's fine. But like, if you guys know what I'm talking about, if you've seen Victorious,
I'm not familiar with that.
let me think. Yeah, okay. So his name is Beck. His name is Beck, the guy who plays Leon in this. And who else? Jade. So it's Beck and Jade. These two look like Beck and Jade, like older. It's fucking hilarious because Jade pretty much dresses up pretty gothic like her.
Mm-hmm.
Like her, and it's fucking hilarious now that I'm looking at it. Yeah, it's great.
I don't know,
the
dude.
fact that I can think of that says a lot
I'm
about
really torn, because like part of me, like now that I'm looking at it, like really, like the characters, I think there's a reason that like video game adaptations are so hard, because it's hard to take a character that you're so familiar with in the game and that you recognize, like their voice actor, their design and their look and their arc. It's so hard to like throw that in like on a screen and make it work.
No, I disagree. You know why? Because look at
I'm not saying it can't be done.
Yeah, look at Cowboy Bebop.
I don't know what that is.
Do you know what that is?
No.
It's an anime.
And that would be why I don't know what it is.
Well, Netflix is doing a like a live action adaptation of that anime, and the set pictures, they look way better than this. Like I know that the characters look exactly like the Cowboy Bebop, and it's pretty dope. So it can be done. It's just a matter of the budget. You remember we talked about the budget of them right now. Remember?
Right.
We talked about how little the budget is, so we pretty much kind of could assume like what we would be getting in regards to quality and what's it called? Hitting the nail on the exact adaptation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I'm very torn, because the more I look at it, like I dig the set. Like I really dig what I'm seeing with like the the dark hallways, you don't know what's around the corner. Like it feels very Resident Evil, but at the same time, like the Leon dude just doesn't look. I don't know.
He doesn't look like Leon.
He
Yeah, I
doesn't look
got
like
you.
Leon, and I guess that's fine. I mean, if it's an adaptation. That's why I'm trying to be like, okay, don't be scared just yet. Like I think it'll be okay. I hope that it feels like the game, and everything we've heard from the director is that it feels like the game. Like he is trying to make this thing feel like the game did. I'm a little worried. I hope it feels like the game. I really do.
I'm sure it will. It's just, set pictures are always hard because, again, I don't think that's a legitimate scene in the movie. You know what I mean?
Probably not. Probably not.
So it's just some pictures really just don't do it justice. I'm sure whenever they do the editing in the actual scenes, it'll look 10 times better. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
And again, something that we've all often talked about too is, this obviously is probably. I mean, if you look at Leon and Claire's storyline in Resident Evil 2, they're in Raccoon City during the Raccoon City outbreak. But excuse me, if you go to Chris and Wesker and Jill and everybody else, like this next picture, this is the mansion, and the mansion looks really good. I must say, the mansion looks dope. It really does. The entrance to it, and of course, this is we're not looking at their viewpoint of they're seeing with the stairs and like the different banisters going around. Um, I mean, we're seeing the back as soon as they walk in. I'm assuming this is after the helicopter's down and they're chased by the dogs like through the Arclay Mountains all the way to the opening of the mansion. But we've talked about this before, and it's like another fear I have with this movie is if this is really going to be the mansion incident from Resident Evil 1 plus all of the Raccoon City outbreak from 2 and 3, that's a lot to
That's a
shove
lot of
one movie.
content to go
That's a
through.
lot of source material.
That
And
is.
I'm worried that the fact that they're trying to get through it so quickly, we're not going to get that source material, which is so rich. I mean, you know,
The mansion itself is so rich in different like Resident Evil lore. I mean, it
yeah,
set up the entire franchise, and for them to just push through the mansion incident kind of like
yeah.
belittles the entire storyline that could have been told in a much deeper sense if
hmm
it had just been the mansion incident.
And look, say what you will about Resident Evil. I know some people don't like where it went with 4 and 5 and 6 and even 7 and 8 now because it has Resident Evil's been in a lot of different areas. It's done a lot of different things. But Resident Evil has some of the richest, most in-depth source material of any video game or movie out there. It does.
Agreed.
They
Yeah, I
could keep
agree.
making games forever
It
with
can
that source
make
material.
a plethora of side stories and just different spin-offs
And that's
because
why
I
there's
mean,
so many different spin-offs. I mean, there's a ton of different spin-offs.
yeah, you can make so many different stories on this side and this you can make so many different stories based on the mansion incident, which technically
Right.
they are, but
Yeah.
just like in general with the mansion, you can make so many different stories about it.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, so like obviously this is Chris, and I dig his
Also,
look for Chris.
I
I
think
dig
it's
that.
hilarious. Well, one thing I am glad that they're sticking with like obviously every single one of them besides old boy and the Edge is carrying like an MP5, which is like
Yeah.
I think it's the exact gun you get when you
It
start
is.
off the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's pretty dope. Good job on sticking to that continuity.
Uh-huh. Um Chris and Jill look good. I'm assuming the guy on the far left is Wesker. We can't really get a
Interesting.
clear look on his face, but I'm fairly certain that that's Wesker. I don't think
Okay.
that was Barry. I don't know who this is. It doesn't say. It just says welcome to Raccoon City. From left to right, Albert Wesker, Richard Aiken, oh, okay. Richard Aiken. Oh, that's Aiken. Okay, interesting. That's Richard Aiken, Jill, and then Chris. and they are in the Spencer Mansion. Okay, so this is like the opening. So I assume this is pretty early on in the movie. You know,
Yeah,
my
I guess so.
original, and we talked about this too a little while ago. One of my original thoughts was like maybe the bulk of this movie will take place in the mansion, and then towards the end, we're introduced to Leon and Claire when things kind of start going wrong in Raccoon City, and then like from the first Paul W.S. Anderson film, I think my favorite part of that movie is when Alice wakes up. She's in the Umbrella Hospital. We get the Nemesis tease at the end, and then she walks out, and Raccoon City is just freaking gone. Like, it is just obliterated. There's like the George Romero callback with the dead walk, the newspapers kind of flowing in the wind, and she cocks the shotgun, and then it's like, holy crap, this is the Raccoon City outbreak. That was dope. And if they could do the same kind of thing with that, where the majority of the movie is the mansion incident, and then at the end is the tip of the iceberg for the Raccoon City incident. But I don't think they're going to do that because there's too many. Like, Chief Irons is going to be in this, and Chief Irons is, I believe, I haven't played part 2 in a long, long time, but I think he's at the very end of that game when they run in with Police Chief Irons. So, like, my biggest concern and my biggest question isn't even the characters. It isn't what they're going to do with the zombies and the creatures. My big concern is, like, when is this going to take place? Like, unless this is going to be a 3-hour movie, which I don't think it will be, like you said before, there's a lot of source material to jam pack into this thing.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
So that's my biggest question. And then we had one more screen grab.
Who the fuck is that?
That looks nasty, dude.
Who the fuck is that? Actually, no. I probably let me think.
I don't know what enemy this is.
It was
let's see what the Lisa Trevor appears. Oh shit. Okay, so that's no. Okay. I understand what this is now.
I remember shooting this bitch a dozen of times.
Okay,
the Umbrella Chronicles.
That's the first time I've read that. I had not seen that description before. So that is Lisa or Liza. I forget how you say her name. So she was basically another awful experiment. And I hope they push that too. Is like the whole the Umbrella, the illegal experiments, I really hope they push that angle of this too. Because I mean, obviously that is something that we did. We got that with the other movies, but it kind of veered away. It was more about Alice.
Yeah.
We didn't really get, it was mainly about them wanting to control Alice. And she was like superhero. You know what I mean? I want to really explore like
I want to explore the failed experiments.
Yeah, the original, how Umbrella how they found the T virus. Like that description said with Lisa Trevor and the how they discovered the other variants of the virus to create Nemesis, to create Tyrant. All the stuff with William Birkin, how the Raccoon City outbreak even started. Like, that's the stuff that I really want to explore. Because even in the Paul W.S. Anderson films, we did get the whole, even the outbreak, though, even the Hive outbreak, it was Alice. Because her and her husband were trying to shut Umbrella down. Like, Alice was the focus of that entire thing.
Yeah.
And they really have an opportunity here to pull so many different things into this movie. This could be like, I'm going to say something here. And it's going to be really, really bold. Resident Evil has the potential to be a cinematic universe.
No.
It really does.
No.
I don't know if it has the fan base to keep it up.
Not anymore. I mean, you're losing them with the video games alone, and then the movies probably threw out so much of them too.
I'm just saying it has enough source material.
I think the only thing that's really saved the Resident Evil franchise has been the remastered versions of the
Eh,
video games.
I do want to play those too. I don't know if I'd say it saved it, but I mean,
I mean, let's be honest, they were kind of like veering like too far. You know what I mean? Like there
they
really
were starting
wasn't.
to veer pretty far.
Yeah, they were stretching too thin, and
But
it
I
got
mean,
to the point
4
where it
and
was just
5
like,
were incredibly successful.
yeah, but how long ago was that? A while.
2004 and 2009.
Yeah, that was a while ago.
And then
That
6
was a
came
couple
out in
years.
2012. 7 was what, 2017?
Yeah.
And
So
then
it's been a
8
while,
came
and
out
we haven't
last
heard
year.
anything about that. It was like the same thing that we were worried with the MCU. Like it had just been a year since we've had a Marvel project, and we're like, are we gonna like lose like this drive that we have with the
Yeah,
cinematic universe? Like people did have that fear.
right.
Now with Resident Evil, we are literally seven no, like 6 or so years without like another like project besides obviously the new game that came out. But in
Hmm.
regards to a movie and anything to like delve into the actual legitimate franchise, yeah, it's little sketch. And the
Yeah.
most of the fans have just went underground pretty much because there isn't nothing to be excited for
Yeah.
except for this movie now.
Well, and I don't know. They really have a chance here, especially seeing this. And now that I
I
realize what
like it.
I'm now that I realize what I'm looking at, I'm like, oh, okay. Like I get it now. Like I get that that's who that is. I
Do you think that's
understand. Um,
do you think that's like kind of CGI or do you think it
um,
looks CGI?
I hope it's a combination. I do. I mean, there's going to be CGI. Obviously, we've already. I mean, we reported on that a
Yeah,
while ago.
but is
But
it gonna be like heavily CGI?
I hope not. I understand for Lickers, for if Nemesis is going to be in it, if for Tyrant, I get that some of it has to be CGI, but I hope that a lot of it's prosthetics and actual, like, not not exactly what they did with Thanos, even though Thanos looked incredible. But
Yeah.
I hope
Well,
that there's some
I am gonna
legitimacy to it.
I am gonna flip. Nemesis and Resident Evil Apocalypse
Apocalypse, he looked
look
dope.
dope.
He
That
was
was all
dope.
practical effects.
I know
No,
people
he
hated that
looked
it was Matt and that Nemesis was kind of a good guy at the end,
I know, but yeah, because he's not
but he
supposed to,
looked
but
good.
he
He looked
looked
damn good.
nice. That was
Yeah.
I'm sure a bulk of that budget went to Nemesis. Yeah, 100%.
Definitely.
It
That's a
looked
lot of prosthetics. I hate to be the guy in all of that prosthetics because he was probably like, "Get me out of this" when they
Yeah,
were
yeah.
done filming.
Well, do you see okay, so you see how, like, insane that prosthetic is. Let me tell you, I'm sure that was hell because there was a story about, Jim Carrey told a story about whenever he was,
Stars.
when Jim Carrey was, being going through the makeups of, The Grinch,
Hmm.
he said it was almost like he was being buried alive with
Yeah, it
that alone,
was like the
and he
same
had
thing
to
with Robert Englund with Freddy Krueger.
yeah, it was like being buried alive, and it like really takes a toll. So can you imagine something like Nemesis being that thick and
Right.
like into the thick of all of those prosthetics? Yeah, I can't
Yeah.
imagine.
This I could see like her arms look. This looks real. Now, I don't know if this is hair. I don't know if that's blood, if this is like they're shooting. I don't know what it is. But two thoughts here. Uh First thought is I like that we're going to it makes me excited that we're going to explore the experiments and how dark it is because let's be completely honest, some of that stuff Umbrella does in the original games is
Pretty fucked.
it's nasty. Like
Yeah.
it's get under your skin, creepy crawly, disgusting. And I hope we get that with this movie. Um Second of all, I do hope that there is a mixture of prosthetic um and CGI, but I also am thinking realistically here that like I get that with there's obviously going to be a time constraint because I mean, it's yes, it's Resident Evil, and yes, there's a
We're
lot
probably
of
gonna
people that are super excited for this, but at the same time, they don't have the time or the budget that Endgame did. You know what I mean?
yeah,
They don't
yeah.
have time to make
I would
every single villain prosthetic
mhm.
and what's the word?
Practical effects.
Practically done. They're gonna have to do some CGI, but I hope it's
Yeah.
good CGI. I don't want it to be that crappy Fantastic Four from whatever year that came out CGI, because some of that
Yeah,
looked
yeah.
god awful. So
Hey man, let's be honest. Some of the practical effects back then were pretty good. I mean, look at okay, if we're trying to like say we've gone so far in regards to special effects, I mean, yeah, we had Thanos, but one thing that really did piss me off with like Infinity War and Endgame was the use of CGI in that movie. Like you could tell
yeah,
where they put so much effort into Thanos and then so little effort in like Banner and the Hulkbuster, and then in
I didn't
Civil
think
War
I didn't think
with
Iron Man looked good in either one of those movies, to be honest.
in which one?
Either one of them. I thought. I mean, I get it because they're doing like the
No, no,
nanotech thing,
look,
but like,
Iron
I
Man
didn't think Iron Man looked that great.
like fully suit up Iron Man and Endgame and Endgame and Infinity War was absolutely dope. It looked great. My only thing is whenever it came to like Tony and when it came to like him taking off the helmet and just being him, yeah, the CGI was terrible. Like it wasn't blended well. Like
It
let's be
wasn't
honest.
terrible, but it like I could tell.
You
I don't
could
know. Like
tell.
for Iron Man 1, 2, and 3, I felt like, wow, this looks like it looks like he's actually in a metal suit of armor.
Yeah,
Endgame, it
because
was
in
like,
Iron Man
oh, he's in
and
a
Iron
CGI
Man 2,
suit of armor.
yeah, and Iron Man 2, like you remember the diner scene? I rewatched the diner scene
Yeah,
with Nick Fury and
it looks
Tony.
legit.
It looks legit. It felt like a Pulp Fiction scene in my head for a second when they were
Definitely.
in the diner and they were talking. And it really had them in like the full regalia. But
Yeah,
obviously Tony didn't like doing that, so they just gave him the football uniform and just had at it on that one.
right.
Which I get it, and they obviously came through, but again, you could tell where the CGI is and how, you know, half-assed that it was blended. So whenever I'm looking at this, it looks like those scenes alone, I fear that it's going to be like a cutscene from the video games. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
That's what
and
I
I
worry about.
I completely I get that. So let's read through this article real quick. Let's get to Johannes Roberts' interview, um, an exclusive email interview with IGN. Roberts elaborated on the differences between his Resident Evil movie and the prior Screen Gems films with starring Mila Jovovich and produced by Paul W. S. Anderson. Okay, um, let's see. So here's the interview. How long is this? Okay, we may not read through every bit of it, but it'll be on screen so you can read through it if you wish. So IGN asked him, Resident Evil is one of the most commercially successful video game movie franchises ever. Why reboot it instead of continuing it? He said, I actually love the first movie so much. I think it's great. And Milia just created such an iconic character, which is true, but it was its own thing. It wasn't really Resident Evil as I knew it. The previous movies never captured the game and the feelings I got when playing the game. That's not a criticism. I think it just went in a different direction. I wanted to go back to the horror of it all. I wanted scares and atmosphere rather than full on action, which I appreciate that. I get that. I think fans of the game felt the same. They wanted to see the iconic characters and locations and feel that the movie was more in line with the RE game world. So that's really why we chose to go in that direction. We worked hand in hand with Capcom on this movie. To the point that we actually got blueprints for them on the designs of the Spencer Mansion. That's pretty dope. And the Raccoon City police station in order to recreate them as perfectly as we could. That's dope. We even have the exact artwork on the mansion walls. Capcom saw it for the first time the other day and was so happy and excited. And that, as a nerd, made me happy and excited. That's the kind of stuff that makes me happy and excited.
Mm-hmm.
To know that they went through that much effort to try and recreate the games. And I mean, I even like I again, Resident Evil is part of the thing that got me into horror movies. It's part of what got me into playing video games. Like Resident Evil was the first video game series that I really like went into like head first. and I loved it. And I still to this day am a huge Resident Evil fan. And there is a very weird, creepy, eerie feeling that you get playing Resident Evil, even to this day. There is.
Yeah, I agree.
Even when they even when they went strange with 4 and 5 and 6, you still get that eeriness, you know?
I agreed. And well, for the previous franchise of the Resident Evil, it went from like Resident Evil to like kind of Silent Hill-ish. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
that's kind of the way I got it. And
right.
Yeah, again, that was cool. It was cool and groovy. Yeah, I liked it. But in regards to like the actual movie, like the actual game material, yeah, it was kind of like meh. It was like, yeah, they definitely went in a different direction. And I was about to say, like, they went through all this work to make it exactly look like the mansion in Raccoon City for a total of probably 40-minute screen time.
And it didn't even really look like the mansion, you know?
Yeah. Well, I'm talking about this movie. That's what I'm guessing.
Okay.
Like,
okay.
They went through all this work for probably like 40 or 30 minutes of screen time of the entire movie.
I hope not.
I'm assuming.
See, that's why my biggest concern is time, because it's like you need to be able to give enough time for the mansion, and you need to be able to give enough time for Raccoon City. And I'm worried that they're not going to do that. It's going to be very like boom, 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 boom.
It's gonna be like really. It's gonna be like really point fingerish. Like, oh, I recognize that.
Yeah.
Oh, I recognize that. Oh, I know what that is. Yeah.
Right. So
it's gonna be kind of like a fan service. I hope it's not the case. I hope it's really not just like a fan service kind of thing. I hope they legitimately like make a decent like storyline into it.
I agree. And they have like a cast comparison. Like there is obviously Kaya Scledario. I'm not sure exactly how you say her name. She's playing Claire. Kaya, I don't know. I'm not even going to try.
Scledario, yeah, okay.
Yeah. Hannah John Carmen is playing Jill. There's Chris. He looks pretty spot on. I'm not gonna lie. He looks like
a young Chris Redfield. I'm not gonna lie. My favorite one is my favorite Chris Redfield is probably 5 and 6.
Yep, I love him. And 5 is great.
Yeah,
Tom Hopper playing
was pretty. Yeah,
Wesker. He looks like Wesker. He's the one, man, and it's nothing against him, man. From what I've heard, he's a really great actor. But he just doesn't look like Leon to me. He does not at all.
All I see is just that chill boyfriend for Jade and Victoria. That's all I see.
Yeah.
He looks like a Wesker, so to speak.
Yeah, I could see that too. He's playing William Birkin, which I could, if he grows the hair out longer, or if they do a wig or something, I could see him playing Birkin. Like I could, I could see that. That would be fine.
Neil McDonough he's a pretty good actor. I like him.
I like him a lot too.
I saw him in Suits.
Why is she on here?
Allie
I love Allie Larder, but why is she in the lineup for this?
I don't know.
Oh
no, I guess
they're just showing the OGs.
Yeah.
He looks like knockoff Chris. I didn't. His acting was fine, but like the way he looked, it felt very rushed.
I thought when I saw his introduction, like when he was in the cell, I was like, they got Eminem in this movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He looks like Eminem's. He looks like Eminem's like older cousin. You know what I mean? Yeah. Is that bad for you to say? Yeah.
And then this guy is Leon. He was like,
"Will the wheel Slim Shady please stand up?"
Hey. Alice, what are we?
Yo, dog, that jacket is 3 sizes too small, my man. If you lift your arms, I'm seeing full-on belly button.
They were trying to make him look like Leon in Resident Evil 4, though.
4.
She was a good Jill. I will say she killed it as Jill, completely killed it.
I agree.
Sean Roberts was a good Wesker. He was good. So.
He just had that that attitude.
Yeah.
But then like him as Wesker, it was like a really deep voice.
Yeah.
And then like in the Resident Evil games, it was a really like high pitched voice. You know what I mean? For Wesker.
Yeah. Yep.
Like I just think it's really funny.
I always think of Wesker in 5. Like when Sheva and Chris are fighting him in 5, he's like 7 minutes. 7 minutes is all I have time to play with you. What? It's like how he talks.
What have you seen? Have you played like the Resident Evil like Umbrella Chronicles on Wii?
Yes, I
Yeah,
had
I
the
love this. I love the
first
storyline with
one.
Wesker. The storyline with Wesker is probably one of my favorites
Yeah,
because just the way his quips in the entire game is fucking
mhm.
great.
It is
He's
good.
like he sounds like such an anti-hero even though he is like a villain. He just sounds like such an anti-hero to me.
Yeah, definitely. So then IGN asked, how did these incarnations of characters such as Jill and Leon alter from their versions in the past film or in past films? And Johannes said, the difference with this film as opposed to the original movie or the previous movies is that it is an ensemble where each of the main characters carries a huge importance to the narrative. Okay, it's good. They are not just cosplay characters.
Fuck.
Is he throwing shade at which look, man, I own all the Paul W.S. Anderson ones. Like, I love Resident Evil. I love his movies. But if we're being honest, Chris and Leon in the Paul W.S. Anderson movies, if you completely removed them from the movie, nothing would be it wouldn't
Yeah.
matter. Like they
Yeah.
would it was like a cosplay kind of deal, which I get that. That's pretty
Yeah.
savage of him to say.
Damn.
It
Even
really
though he
is.
says he loves the movies as
Yeah.
a whole. Well, here, okay, look, this is the best way I can say it. He loved the story with Alice, but as soon as he started bringing the original characters, he was probably like, "Get the fuck out of here, man." He was
Yeah.
probably like that. He said, "What the fuck am I getting great value, Chris
Well,
Redfield?"
I remember when Leon showed up in what is it? Is it an Afterlife or Retribution? Whichever one Leon shows up in, I was just like,
Where the fuck were you been? Where the
why? I was
fuck
like,
have you
what?
been?
Like, where did he come from? Like randomly, it was very strange.
Yeah, if you were to introduce him, it would have been like Raccoon City, like an apocalypse.
Yeah,
That's where he was
it was.
introduced, but
It
no,
was very strange the way they just kind of like threw Leon
threw him
in
in.
there.
Yeah, yep.
Ada had more screen time than Leon did. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and
It was weird.
whenever Leon saw her, he was like, Ada?
Ada. That was
Ada?
the killed me how he talked because Leon didn't talk like that. Leon's very just like I don't know. I mean, he does have like a he's serious when he talks, but it's not. I don't know. It was just strange. He was very like, Ada,
Ada?
what are you doing
Ada?
here? Like it was like
Yeah.
bulky bodybuilder type accent. I don't know.
It was because of that jacket. The jacket was so constricting on
That
his
jacket,
chest.
he
Every
was like,
time he talked, he was like,
Ada.
Ada?
He couldn't
What
talk.
you doing here? I don't know.
He said, I think previously everything had been about the Alice character, which it had, which is not a knock. I like Alice. I like Milia, which was never in the games. And the game characters that did appear, like Jill, Leon, Claire, and Chris, did so in kind of a supporting cameo. Did so as kind of supporting cameos, which they did. Jill and Leon in this movie are equal leads along with Claire and Chris and Wesker, which is dope. I'm feeling better the more I read through this article. Jill was such a fun character to play around with, a sort of live wire small town girl. She's kick-ass, but not in a superhuman way, which is kind of how she is in the games. I mean, she is. You feel scared for her when shit goes down. Hannah and Joel, John Kamen.
Yeah.
I don't know. Hannah. Whoops, I hit myself. Hannah John Kamen. It's all one word. I'm thinking it's two names. It's one word here. Hannah John Kamen really brought her to life. Leon Kennedy was interesting because in many ways he was my way into the movie as a writer. I sort of saw the story through his eyes, which is interesting because Leon has nothing to do with the mansion incident.
No, not really.
I wanted to move away from the buff action hero that Leon became in the later games and to return to the Leon of his very first rookie incarnation in Resident Evil 2, which is okay. I'm fine with that. Although I do like Leon. I think Leon is probably the strongest character in the games, other than Chris. Leon and Chris are the two strongest characters.
Yeah. Do you remember
the later
that remember that movie? I forgot, it was like more recent. There was a scene
The
that I
animated
sent you.
movies.
Yeah, where I had
Yeah.
like Leon and Chris like fighting all
Mhm.
these zombies. Yo, that scene right there was pretty fucking dope.
Yeah, definitely. And then he says about what was I gonna say? In this movie, he's not an action hero. He's slightly out of his depth, very hungover, and he can't believe the shit that's going down on his first day. The events
I
of the
forget
film
that
help
was his
create.
first day, man.
Yeah, it was. It was like his first, like his entry to being a cop was the Raccoon City outbreak. Um, which is cool. You know what I really liked is Resident Evil Outbreak. You want to talk about the atmosphere, man? Resident Evil Outbreak really captured that atmosphere because
Oh, did
that's
it?
literally and that was a cool concept for a game too because literally the opening of the game is dope. It has this whole terrifying like opening cutscene where it's like showing basically everything leading up to the Raccoon City incident. And then like it's showing like the Umbrella Soldiers fighting Tyrant in the sewers and stuff and rats going and then it goes up and you're outside of Jay's bar. That's what it's called in Raccoon City. And literally the group of characters you play as is just a bunch of people who happen to be sitting in a bar at the same time when the outbreak started. And it's like you
Damn.
can switch off between different characters and it's still got like the weird third person camera angles where like you can't see what's around the corner and stuff. It was cool. It was a really cool it was a really cool game. There's Johannes Roberts. He is the director.
He is the man.
um let's read. I'm not going to read all of this. Let's get maybe like
What I keep saying John Carpenter. What's going on with him?
I think it was I think his movies were kind of an inspiration for the aesthetic. So like the aesthetic of Halloween, the aesthetic of Escape from New York, The Fog. Like I think that's kind of the aesthetic they're going for with this, which is cool because John Carpenter movies do have a very specific look and feel to them, you know,
Mm-hmm.
which is pretty cool, and I dig that. Um, so let's just read a couple more of these. So, can you define what your visual aesthetic was for the film in terms of differentiating with what audience have seen in past RE movies? He said this movie really had nothing to do with the previous franchise. That was all about returning to the games and creating a movie that was much more a horror movie than a sci-fi action movie, and that is great. I love that. I was hugely influenced in a particular by the remake of the second game, and I really wanted to capture the atmosphere drenched tone that it had. It was so cinematic. The previous movies were bright and shiny, whereas this movie was dark and grimy, entirely shot at night. It's constantly raining, and the town is shrouded in mist. And I dig that too. That's really cool. I was very influenced by 70s filmmaking techniques. We shot using zooms a lot, and there were no drone shots in the movie or crazy CGI camera shots that are physically
Oh
impossible.
man,
What?
it would have been cool to have a drone shot of Raccoon City just going to shit.
Yeah, of like just all hell breaking loose,
Yeah.
like in the streets and in buildings. That would have been cool. The movie has a very old school retro feel to it. I was hugely we just read that. You can really feel the texture in this movie. Nothing feels high tech. It feels dilapidated. I want Raccoon City to feel a bit like the town in Deer Hunter. I'm not familiar with Deer Hunter, a ghost town forgotten by the rest of the world, and the whole structure of the film was definitely very influenced by Assault on Precinct 13. So he's obviously very, he's very Carpenter. Um, he's Carpenter influenced. Talking about the creatures, he said we returned to the game wherever we were, looking at the characters and creatures and locations. It was our guiding star. They worked very closely with Capcom. Every character and creature is from the game, and as such, I wanted to be as faithful as possible. I wanted to create a truly immersive feeling for the fans, but that also became the trick. But that also became the trickiest part of adapting a piece of IP like this, because I didn't just want to put the game on screen. It had to be its own thing with living, breathing characters and creatures, and of course, zombies that felt true to the world. There's some cool shit in there. I mean, some of the creature stuff looks incredible. It was a mixture of prosthetics. Okay, there we go. Prosthetics, CGI, and creature performers. Thumbs up from me.
Agreed.
Big old thumbs up from me. There's some wonderfully freaky stuff in there. You'll immediately recognize the creatures from the game, but hopefully we've gone beyond the game in terms of making these terrifying creatures feel like they really could exist in real life. That's cool. That makes me really excited. So he talked about casting Leon and Jill, the creature designs, which we kind of just talked about, pretty much all of the same exact, pretty much all the same exact things we've been talking about. So I don't know. Our little Resident Evil therapy session has made me feel a lot better about it. When I first saw those pictures, I was like,
yeah, at face value, it
I was
it
like,
looked pretty
I don't know,
sketch.
but I think they really do have an appreciation for the source material.
Yeah.
And I think they really are going to try to make it as true to the game as they can. So.
I agree too. My only thing is, again, it's just the time. I don't want to feel rushed into this thing.
Mm-hmm.
I want to sit down and enjoy the show. I don't want to be like put on a roller coaster because, again, roller coasters are like, they're fun, but then like by the time it's over, you're like, well, what the fuck just happened there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like it hits you really, really, really hard, and then it's just over. And I want it to lead somewhere. Like again, they won't. This will never happen because there's not enough of a. I don't want to say there's not enough of a fan base because Resident Evil has a huge fan base, but there's not enough of the total movie-going population that is going to want a Resident Evil cinematic universe. But there's enough source material there that they could do it, and I just really hope that I don't know. I really hope that they give it the attention it deserves. So I will post that article if you want to finish reading those last couple of questions from IGN to the director Johannes Roberts. I'll post it in the comments below if you're watching on YouTube, and I'll also tweet it out too if you're listening on Spotify. So